You know who made it.
Hello and welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast. Today we are joined by Azhar Quaiyoom. Sorsha, welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast.
Welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast, Calum.
Welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast, Marilyn. Roosevelt, welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast. Welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast, Tyler. Welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast, Shazad.
Do you face multiple barriers day to day, like a day-to-day job and whatnot?
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. I think every day is a challenge, but yeah, you know, deadlines are tight. A lot of the time we get pushed for for outputs and things like that. But you know, it's all part and parcel, I think, of running a business. And but yeah, barriers we definitely are faced. I think we're facing issues around skills shortages in the sector we work in. There's definitely shortage of skills there. So, I'm taking fresh graduates on that are not experts in the field, but I train them up quite vigorously. I empower them, believe in them, because a lot of them coming out straight out of university with only some kind of summer experience or experiences as a year out or something like that. But I believe in them, and I think we don't do that enough. There's we seem to think age is this kind of barrier where, if you're in your 20s, you're too young to speak to a client, or you're too young to do X, Y, and Z. We get them in at the deep end, and a lot of the time we have to. And I think that's good, because I find it really valuable, and I find it really pleasing that when I look at a graduate when he's first started and they've been quite really shy and timid, etc., and then you see them through like a year later of working with them, and all of a sudden they're doing presentations and they're client facing and they're coming up with ideas and solutions. Kind of sit back and you think, wow, like less than 12 months ago, you were really shy in a meeting, you won't say a word or something, and now looking, and that's really kind of rewarding to see that.
Since you've started at Formula One, Sorsha, what would you say is the biggest challenge you faced whilst working for Formula One?
I mean, I'll be honest and say that, to me, I never thought in a million years that me being the only female in a very male-dominated area would be a problem. I've always been very headstrong and very confident, and that won't bother me. Like, I'll be fine. Like, they're people. It will be fine. I get on with people. And that has been a real challenge, and I did not expect it at all. And it's taking me some time to really get used to it. I'm used to working with a lot of women, having that real comfort and almost like safety around me, and feeling like I can share my own experiences with them. And it's been difficult because I'm just not used to this environment. And then, not to say that it's necessarily a bad thing. My manager is probably the best boss I've ever had, like, in my working career. He's so supportive. Anything that I need, he's there to lend a hand. And I can say that about the entire department as well. They are absolutely fantastic. And everyone that I've met so far, whether that be in HR or in circuit engineering or in different areas of the business, everyone has been so welcoming and friendly and helpful. But that's not to say that I'm still having my own struggles with it. And I don't think it would be fair for me to sit here and say, to young girls listening, like, oh, it will be fine going into male-dominated spaces, because you will have challenges with it. That's just, it's to be expected, but you can overcome them. And I think, especially with the right support around you, it's so much easier to sort of get over those barriers, so to speak.
Wanted to ask on just how successful Red Bull are at the moment. I mean, Red Bull currently they've had so much like success in Formula One, like in recent years. I mean, you guys, Red Bull, I mean, you've just recently equaled McLaren's record of 11 straight wins in the sport, and about to Hungary next weekend, you could even beat that record with 12 race wins. But what I wanted to ask, because the Red Bull team, when you see them on watching on TV, it just looks like such like a well-oiled machine. Like when I'm watching F1 with family, we just think that there's no mistakes made with the Red Bull team at all. Everyone just seems like so on it. But my question is, like, how do you guys like maintain such high levels of performance after you've just achieved like so much in the sport?
I mean, it's a tough one, but I think more than anything, it comes down to just sort of the atmosphere. You know, like we're like you said, you know, we're sort of in a real prime zone right now. Everything's just clicking. Everything's, you know, going quite well. But I think the way that we've managed to sort of maintain that, because for me, we've managed to have that over the last couple of years. You know, I feel like we're in a real sweet spot right now as a working unit. But I guess it's more just about the atmosphere. You know, we've created quite an environment where it's not just like supportive for everyone, but actually it's still pushing everyone on. You know, like the drivers performing well, and that pushes you on. You wanna get this, you wanna get that, you wanna find the next thing for you to achieve. And I feel like it's part of sort of just like the whole ethos is sort of catering towards that kind of success.
With yourself, you've had a very like diverse career. I mean, you obviously been through University of Birmingham, studying chemistry, to working in the BBC, setting up your own businesses, and now the founder of the Manchester Innovations Activities Hub. So I guess the question I wanted to ask is, what is the most important lesson that you've learned over your career in terms of the challenges that you faced?
I will tell you that I think that growing up as a child, I used to love Greek mythology. Stories like Jason and the Argonauts really, really appeal to me. And the thing that people don't realize about stories is that they are what are known as archetypes. They are telling you something about the human condition. So Jason is really, it's called the call of the hero, and we can all be heroes. We have to choose to be a hero, and the hero is asked to go on this journey, and this journey means that you're going to have to confront your personal demons, overcome them, in order that you can be transformed as a person, and then get the golden fleece, and Jason becomes the king. So Jason was a young man who was born a king, had his throne stolen away from him, and he had to go and reclaim it. So that's really the basis of the story. So each and every one of us is born a king, a prince, but we have to reclaim our greatness. And in order to do that, we each have to go on a journey where we have to face our greatest fears, but not face them on our own. You know, we have our tribe, don't we? Niall and Blair, and we have a great network of people who supported us on our journey and the development of the Blair Project. But without that tribe, without those people who support you, who back you up, who you know you can always rely on, it would be an impossible journey.
So I'm not such about skill, but can I give a couple of points in maybe as to some things you really need to think about? I'd say, 1, don't ask, don't get. So if you ask, and you ask enough questions about where you want to be, what you want to try and achieve, then you'll be surprised how many doors open. Don't sit in silence. Get out there and ask the right questions. I'd say perhaps 2, only you can achieve it if you trust in yourself. It's really important. You've got to trust in your abilities. I think 3, don't let anybody, like my career teacher, say you can't. Because you can. Because believe it, number 4 is nothing is achieved without hard work. So for me, I would say these skills or qualities about yourself are really important. If I had to pick on one of those, I'd say trust in yourself and trust in your abilities, because you can actually do it. You just need to realize it, and you just need to do it.
Love that. Very, very powerful. And, a lot of that stuff, I can resonate with from my background. At school, I was told I'd probably never amount to anything. There's a terminology called the forgotten middle. So it's the kids who are the most academic, but also, they're not the other kids who are not the disruptor in the classroom. It's the one who teacher thinks will just, okay, do all right, whatever. We don't really need to pay attention. But, I had that where, people thought, oh, yeah, he's just not going to do anything. And then, it's like, you're not going to let people's opinions put you down, and you're going to go out there and, try and be the best you can be, and, be determined to create something in this world.
Absolutely. You're quite right, but I think it's quite difficult when you're young and you can be influenced by people and you may not have all the confidence you need. You don't know what path to go on. So that's where that motivation comes in. That's why this podcast is absolutely brilliant. It's a fantastic idea, because it does give people the opportunity to believe in themselves and to see people that have been there and where they can actually go, because they're not all confident. We haven't all got the support of our parents, perhaps, or our friends. Sometimes you're on your own, having to make your own way in life. So this type of thing, if you can see it, you can be it, really opens up a lot of doors for people. So I fully agree with you.
With yourself, Tyler, want to go, let's say, because we're on topic of the future, in terms of yourself and your own career, what sort of legacy would you like to leave behind? Let's say in 10, 15 years from now, or maybe even further into the future, how would you like to be remembered, let's say, in the film industry?
Yeah, in the film industry, I don't know. I don't know. I think what I want more so is not even in the film. I just want to leave my mark here with people. You know what I mean? Whether it's through the vessel of filmmaking that catapults that to happen, that's cool. I just want people to. I want to be able to, give some type of guidance to people that are coming up. I'm moving into the race world more, so I'm trying to offer pathways into racing for people of color. So and all people, but like people of color, like I didn't have a way to get into racing growing up, but now doing some of the things that I'm doing within the racing world, I'm having a door possibly be open to have that for other people. So if I can do something like that with my legacy, that's what I'm trying to work on. Yeah.
And what are some of these pathways in motorsport? Because you mentioned getting people of color into motorsport, like opportunities. What sort of projects you've been working on?
Right now, I'm working with a company, MFT, that is they're developing a program to have race car drivers come from America, and we're working with another company, the 11010 Foundation, where they're training, kids in school. They're showing them aerodynamics, engineering, all these aspects of racing that you wouldn't normally get where you live. Showing them like that side of the world, and kids are really interested in it. So we're kind of creating a pathway for seeking out high talent, like high racing talent, and developing a program where they can move into racing through our program. So yeah,
is that just for drivers, or is it for like mechanics, engineers as well?
It would be for mainly drivers to start off with, and then but we would be running teams and stuff like this, so we would have open doors for engineers, mechanics, and things as such. So we're working on that right now. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I was just going to add, Shazad, because when we've been going to, there's been events that we've gone to where there's been maybe people who, like, say, traditional petrol heads who've had their, let's say, concerns, in terms of like mileage on like electric vehicles, and it's almost like a completely like different change, or maybe it's partly to do with people being scared of change. But what would you say to those sorts of people that are still a bit reserved on in terms of the path of electric vehicles?
I mean, to be fair, I think their worries are justified, to be honest, because I think that the fundamental issue that we have at the moment is the infrastructure. If we were able to very easily, very quickly charge cars anywhere, everywhere, whenever we wanted, I think the approach would be very different. And I think this is a serious problem in the way that we are implementing or selling the concept of EVs. Because at the moment, what you're trying to do is you're trying to guilt conscious people into an EV. You're trying to go, oh, but don't you care about the environment? What's the matter with you? You know, and I don't think that's the right approach. I don't think that's ever worked. You know, I think the approach that works is to present somebody with a better product. You know, and if the better product is something that they go, oh, you know what, this works and it's good and it fits my lifestyle and it works for me. You know, if those things happen, then people themselves will flock to that product. You know what I mean? People will just go, oh, you know, I'm just getting one of those because my mate's got it and his mate's got it and my boss has got one and they're all having a great time. And why am I driving this dirty old thing when I can have that? You know, so I think that has to be the approach. But when you have an issue where, you know, all your friends are telling you it's like, oh, mate, it hasn't got enough range. There's nowhere to charge. Your nearest charger is broken. You know, you have all of these problems. Then it is an issue. And I think that, you know, again, it's going back to context, you know, and again, to me, if somebody says to me that if they say they can install a charger at home, I say, go for it. Yeah. And if they say, like, I live in an apartment, so I'm like, I can't charge at home. I can't run a cable. I could try running down a cable from my balcony, but I don't think the neighbors would appreciate that. But so that wouldn't make any sense, right? So, and the nearest, and like I said, the nearest chargers from here, they're usually broken or busy or whatever. And I live in London, so I mean, so I think there's a big issue with the infrastructure, with obviously the range on the cars, but obviously the range is increasing as the technology is improving. I think the latest, like you say, the technology that you mentioned, and I think that BYD is coming out with blade technology, blade batteries that have a longer range. I just tried it in the Atto 3, which is great. But then the charging times also need to be quicker because there's only so many cups of coffee that you want to have on your journey, you know, when you're trying to do a long distance run on the motorway. So I think trying to force people into EVs is not the right approach, but I think trying to get them to come or migrate to them by themselves because it fundamentally works for them, I think is the right approach.